Hey, Michael, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Michael Johnson. I've been in the insurance business for 30 plus years. I started out in a large insurance company, and I realized back then that brokers that I worked with were weak, and that in order to make money, I needed to eat their lunch. And I went out and started a brokerage firm and built that one up to a significant amount of money, and left that company and started my own company and sold that one in 2010. I retired for 4 years, and my wife said, "Hey, you know what? You can't be home anymore. Get your bald ass out of here
Yeah.
and go back to work." So I started another company with some partners, and we are proverbially kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah. And let's start back with what were those agents doing wrong that you saw a weakness in?
Well, look, I think in any business, you have to be a master of your own destiny, right? You have to
Yeah.
understand and be a student of the business. And what I realized what they did was they did a lot of good relationship building, but
Yeah.
didn't understand the technical aspects of the business. And I understood the very detailed technical aspects of the business and could articulate the message in a way that anybody could understand it, right? So I took a very technical underwriting model and made it simple enough that the whether you're a great CFO or a great HR person, you could understand it. And if you wanted to get more deeper in from a technical perspective, I could go as deep as you want. And the other thing is they all needed these big teams with them to help them sell. I got to have 5 people. No, you don't. The right sales guy, the good salesperson, male or female, by that way, should be able to articulate the message by themselves without a big team.
Yeah.
Teams are great, but if you're the only one speaking, that means the 4 other people there are useless. So I don't need them with me. All I really need is an audience of the decision makers who can say yes or no based on the knowledge information that I'm giving them.
And was it that they didn't spend the time to understand the
No, they were.
nuances?
You know what? It was they just had the relationship. They were a friend of the owner. They were a friend of this person.
They
They
got the
got
meeting.
referred. They got referred in, right? So they got the business. But when it got difficult, that's when they came to the insurance company or the rep at the insurance company. Well, I realized then they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So all I have to do is go out and explain to these clients. This was back in the early '90s, right? That I understand what their job is. I'm doing it for them, and I'm doing it better than they are.
Yeah.
Again, I was young. I was 23 years old, something like that. No problem fighting the fight. And as I grew in the business, I realized that the same thing applied. You have to get to the office early. You need to make more calls than the other guy. You need to fight harder than the other person. No matter what business you're in, fight harder to win and make sure that you're both honest and transparent with what you're doing. And those two things between your focus and energy on how to sell and what you're selling, if a student of the business, and then making sure that you're there early enough. I hear you talk a lot about the pipeline and all that with the sales managers wanting you. I had to deal with all that crap, right? Oh, you got to make 100 calls to get 10 appointments to get one sale. I said, yeah, but I could, if you really do what you're supposed to do, which is sell every minute of every day, and every person you speak to is a sales opportunity. Every one of them, right? You're out to dinner with a friend. Oh, what do you do? Who in your business does insurance? You think I can get an appointment with them? Well, that gets me more business than making 100 calls or 1,000 calls.
Now, insurance has to be like classically viewed as a commodity until you get to
So
know it.
you look, I mean, I'm not in the individual insurance, so I'm in the
Sure.
large group, what I consider middle market. So 500 employees to 10,000 employees. That's my market segment. And yeah, while it is a commodity in essence, it really isn't, because you have to understand the financials. You have to understand what's going on within the experience of the group to make it
Unique.
either a success or a failure. Remember, insurance is your second largest business expense outside of payroll. Second largest.
Yeah. And how did you differentiate yourself there? Because
Really, it's quite simple, right? I mean, two things. I worked harder. I understood, and I was a student of the business, and I use that term, and I think you understand what I'm speaking about. But I really understood, and I educated myself on every aspect from a financial perspective of what the client needed to understand. Again, understanding that it's a very large expense for any business, whether you're a 5 life group or a 5,000 life group, the numbers just expand, but your budget expands, right? So if you can help them understand and give them really clear ideas that are non-biased, then you can be a success for that group. Now,
and
one
the
of the biggest challenges, oh, sorry.
well, I was thinking, what does the competition do? They show up and describe what it is and how it works.
So you look, here's the difference between me and my competition. My competition loves coming in with these big presentations, then go out, talk to them about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And it's all about them,
Yeah.
right? I don't give a flying fart about me. My presentations are about the client, what their needs are, what they are looking to get accomplished. And when I'm doing a presentation at a first call, I'm only really listening. I'm asking them thought provoking questions about their business, about why they need this product versus any other product. I don't even bring up the name of my company or really anything about me, because the meeting, a sales meeting, a good sales guy, it's not about them. It's really, really, for me, again, I may be the dumbest guy in the room, but for me, it's about listening to what the client needs and then fitting what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it based on two things: their needs and their knowledge base. If they understand from a technical perspective, then I can get very technical with them. But if I need to explain a very technical situation to somebody who doesn't understand technicals, I can speak as though I can match my audience, is what I'm saying. And and I make sure that they understand it, but it's never about me. So we get to the end of a meeting, end of a presentation, they say, "Oh, well, what's that over there on the corner of the table?" I'm like, It's stuff that you can read when I leave, and if you want to fall asleep late at night, it's good reading material." But it's never about me. And all my people are like, "I cannot believe you don't bring a presentation." I'm like, "No, I bring it, and but we don't open it." I said, "Because if you have to go through a presentation, then you haven't set the meeting up correctly."
Right. And how long did it take you to come to this conclusion? Because you probably weren't born that way, and the first meeting
I
didn't go that
actually
way.
what I actually look, when I first started, I had a sales manager, right? This is how you sell. Okay. It didn't work. It doesn't work. So then I stopped bringing the sales manager and I started doing it on my own, and success came rather quickly. And I'm always the guy that's going to beg for forgiveness rather than ask for permission.
Yep. Good.
From the very beginning, because my success was so rapid, I never really had to worry about whether anybody liked what I did or how I did it, because at the end of the day, the numbers spoke for themselves.
Right.
I mean, I remember back in the old day when they say, "Oh, you got to fill out this report in the CRM." I would literally open the yellow pages, write down company names, and hand it to them. I've never even talked to these people. It's a garbage.
You're what I call a maverick, and that's a compliment.
Yeah, yeah. So throughout my career, you know, I've realized early on, I'm not a company guy, right? I'm not the
Yeah.
guy that's going to be sit there and follow the rules because they're rules. No, no, no. You give a sales goal, and I'm going to hit the goal, and I'm going to exceed the goal by a lot. That's my job.
Yeah. And what motivated you personally?
Look, for me, I say this to everybody. It's all about my family.
Yeah.
You know, back then I had young kids. I got married young. I had kids young. I did everything for my kids. I don't go out and party after hours with the clients. I send them to games. You want to go to baseball games? Sold to you. Got that. You want to go to hockey games? Got that. You want a concert? Got that. I'm not going with you. I show up at the office, with my younger days, show up at the office at 6 a.m., get my day schedule going, do my couple calls, head out to meetings, and come back, blah, blah, blah. And be home to read the stories to the kids at night. I'm all about making sure that, when my kids are old now, but when my kids are young, make sure that they know that dad cares. Make sure that they know why I'm working my ass off. Make sure they get that what I'm doing is not for me. It's for the family. And when you have family time, you be there. And so I worked really, really hard and made sure that I was present in my kids' lives.
And was it a commission only job, or was there some kind of guarantee?
Listen, no matter what you say, I mean, I was like, oh yeah, I paid you $20,000. No, you didn't. You backed it out of the commission.
Right.
100% of it's commission. Look, I never worried about it because in my business, we're, at a certain point you get to, your book, the business that you've built is yours, right? So you're getting an annuity every year because you're working on that business every day, every year. And it's until you screw up and lose it, it's your business, right? It's part of your book. So I was very fortunate. My book was very large, and I had a very large team of people helping assist that.
And what I liked when you describe about working hard, but what I really heard was you were working hard at working smart,
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to be smart about it, right? I mean,
especially if you want to
for
be a
me,
family guy.
look, there's certain things you have to do, right? I mean, and part of it, technology's helped a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, technology's helped a great deal. I mean, I don't have to be in an office anymore. I don't have to have, uh, you know, all this paper. Right now, it's all computers,
Yeah.
so I don't need all of the BS that you have before. But working smart is understanding what your goal is. Understanding if my goal is to write $1 million of new business a year, how am I going to do it? Am I going to do, what I've done in the past, or am I going to try to modify it based on what the client's needs are today versus what they were 2 years ago? And you back to the student of the business. Have you made sure that you've done your homework and understand every nuance that's gone on in the marketplace, both positively and negatively? Because in order to really win, you don't have to just know the positives. You have to actually know the negatives as well and know who your competitors are, right? And really, when you are asked what differentiates you, you need to be able to really pinpoint and be specific without throwing rocks at your competition. I'm not a believer in throwing rocks at anybody, right? If somebody says, "Oh, this guy's a piece of shit" or whatever, I'm like, I've got no bid on this.
Yeah.
I've got no dog in this fight. I just look. I'm going to tell you what makes me different and what drives me. And one of the things that really gets any prospect that I speak to is I tell them, look, talk to my clients that have been with me for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and ask them one simple question. Does he fight as hard at 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years like he did the first year? If the answer is no, don't hire me.
Now that
But the
student
answer is never no.
that student of the game,
Due to the
people
business.
of the business.
Yeah. Good.
Let's drill down on that because I think
Mhm.
people hear it and they assume they're doing it too. because they attend a webinar, they read a blog, they listen to a podcast, because that is where the gold is. Because your sale has a pattern,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because you know what you're selling, you know why they're buying. And the game is very confined.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, do you want me to answer that? Is that
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
okay? Yeah. So I mean, yes, I think a lot of people hear the term student of the business, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm that. But are you? No, no, no. But are you? Because when I say student of the business, I'm not simply speaking about the insurance business. I'm talking about the art of sales.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the ability to shut your mouth and listen when a prospect has a question, to be able to take in what they're talking about and make sure that you can put it into your brain and digest it and then put it back in English. So you're making sure that you're both on the same page, because you need to be able to articulate that message to your team who has to service it.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, maybe I'll bring somebody with me, one person, somebody that is servicing the account afterwards. But at the end of the day, you've really got to be able to do a couple of things. Listen to the client or the prospect. And even the client, I mean, once they become your client, you got to listen to them even more. They're paying you. You've got to make sure that you're knowledgeable, right? You have to make sure that you're knowledgeable, not only on insurance, but on all of the various aspects. What's going on from a state legislative perspective? What's going on from a federal perspective, right? Federal mandates. What's happening within the government? Okay? What's coming down the pipe next year or the year after? What's being spoken about? Whether it actually happens is irrelevant. But you need to be able to have that conversation to be able to prepare your clients for not just 1 year. And what I talk to my prospects and my clients about is, guys, if you're looking for a 1 year guy, I'm not your guy. We've set up a goal and a strategy for 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year out. Where do you want to be? And we talk about what makes me different. Yeah, sure, I'm passionate. I've got more energy than anybody, but it's my ability to ask difficult questions and make people think that others aren't doing, right? I'm making you think more about insurance and the relationship between the insurance and the employees and your culture
Yep.
than anybody else has ever done.
And what I also sensed is your emotional attachment to winning.
Who doesn't?
A lot of
I
people,
mean,
unfortunately. Right?
but okay, but then that's why they aren't winning. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
and winning is, to be fair, right? To be very fair, winning's different for everybody,
Yeah.
right? My sense of winning is to be on top. I didn't go into sales to be number 3. I didn't go into sales to be number 5 or number 10. I'm in sales to be number 1. I'm in sales and I'm in management of sales to be the best. And I'm willing to do and practice. And it's about practice. You got to, no matter what you do, no matter how old you are, you got to constantly practice.
Now, that's
Right?
hard to do in sales. What did that mean to you, practice?
It's not hard. That's not hard.
But what do you do? Role
Everything
play in
you
front of
do,
the mirror?
okay, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Every single time I have a big presentation, what's the most important part of that presentation? You're a sales guy, you know it. What is it?
I'd ask what they care about.
It's the opening.
Yeah.
You are going to win a sale or lose a sale in the first 3 minutes of that presentation. So I spend every hour of every day, whether I'm in the shower, I'm on the toilet, whether I'm driving to the meeting, I am practicing the inflection, the passion, the commitment, the voice, the words, and I'm practicing everything I'm going to say in the first 3 minutes, because that's the only thing I can control in the entire meeting is the first 3 minutes. The rest of it, I can be throwing curveballs from left field, and I've got to address it. One of the biggest challenges I had when I was younger, and to be fair, I still have it now, is I am so passionate and so committed, it comes across as aggressive. So one of the things that I practice is how to dial that back so I don't come across so strong.
Right.
And especially in today's environment, it intimidates people. It scares them, right? But no. But
Well,
we shake our head. But the reality of it is if I'm dealing with a woman CFO that I am intimidating, or they view as aggressive, I don't win. So you have to dial it back. So that means I dial my New York City attitude back a little bit, and I can't hide my passion. I can't hide the commitment, and I can't hide the fact that I am who I am. I don't wear ties. I don't wear a suit. I mean, I show up to a meeting in a blue blazer and a blue shirt. That's me. I don't wear a tie. They're like, what do you mean you don't wear a tie? I'm like, I don't wear a tie. I don't wear a tie to a 5-star restaurant. I'm not wearing a tie to a meeting.
well, I like that practice because a lot of people, they look at it as role play or videotaping themselves, but it can just be mental rehearsal.
Mine's verbal.
You say it out
Mine's
loud.
verbal. 100%.
In the shower, in the car.
In the bathroom, everywhere. My wife comes in the bathroom, says, what are you doing? I go, I'm rehearsing for my presentation. But she's been with me for 30 years. She knows it. But how are you going to know if you screw up, right? If you don't practice it. And if you don't practice it, you're going to show up to a meeting, and if there's 5 people there and you're alone and you don't know what you're going to say, you will fail. The likelihood of you failing is higher.
Certainly. And what do you see as that best opener? Because I've always had my thing. I just put a huge smile on, like I just met my best friend.
You know what? I think it differs on every meeting. I try to find something within the room that I'm in, whether it's a conference room. When you're in an office, it's easier because you can pick up the kids' sports and, the things in the room that would, are they married? Do they have kids? Do they have a dog? That's easy. If you're in a blank conference room, look, the easiest thing for me to do is start talking about my kids, right?
Yeah.
When they were in primary school, we'll talk about, doing the travel soccer or the, ballet or the recitals. People want to know you're human. They want to know that you're not just there to sell them. They want to know that there is a human being behind that bald head, right? I mean, there's something else besides, just driving and success.
Now, did you have this type of personality your whole life, or was it something you developed?
My whole life.
Yeah. Did you play sports?
So I did. I think what really drove me, Brian, to be very fair, is I grew up with a learning disability, and I changed schools quite a bit to address that learning disability. So I always had a very high level of interaction with adults. And I learned very early on how to shake somebody's hand. I learned very early on to look somebody in the eye. I learned very early on that there was some difference between me and everybody else. I knew that while I may not have the best learning from an educational perspective, knowledge base, I knew I could sell. And I knew I could convince other people of my abilities.
What was that, ADD or dyslexia or?
Dyslexia, yeah.
Okay. Have you done some
back in the day when
Malcolm Gladwell? I don't know if you've read his book on David versus Goliath.
I don't recall. No.
You got to check it out because I'm dyslexic also, and he did research on dyslexics, and a disproportionate number of them are ultra successful or in prison. There's the ones that develop other skills to cover up for the inability to read fast and write fast. They have to get advanced social skills.
Yeah, and I look, I mentor a lot of kids. I mean, one of the things that that success has brought me is the ability to spend time with others, right? To really help others that have been either with a learning disability or that have been, afflicted with drugs and alcohol addiction. I mean, those are the types of things where I can get my arms around and really help other people out. I think for me, one of the best things that drives me is not just the money. The money's great, but it's not the driver. The driver is what you do with it and how can you help other people.
Yeah.
That's really the driver for me. Everybody's different, but for me and my family, that's the difference. How do we help others?
Right, because that what they call helper's high gets you in that flow state into the zone.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair way of saying it. I think the other thing is we've been able to give so much to our kids. It helps when they see that that life's not just about what
Things.
Range
Yeah.
Rover you drive or what Mercedes you drive. It's really about what are you doing as a human being? What are you doing to help, you know, the kids with food insecurity? How are you using your ability? Me, how's my father, my kids speaking? How's my dad and my mom? How are they helping others? And when they see that you're doing it, they get involved. And that's impressive. That's really impressive for me.
Yeah. And when you're coaching other salespeople, what's your approach as far as like, because a lot of people typically say, sell like me, like your manager did, but style is kind of unique. But
Mhm.
the core things about listening to the other person, engaging the other person, asking questions, those are super simple things to become much better at sales.
Yeah, so it really depends on what level salesperson you're speaking of, right? So I'm currently in the middle of bringing on a guy who is a service guy. I hired him as a service guy, but I really want him to do everything. So I wanted him to try. Gave him 6 months in service, and now we're doing 6 months in sales. No quotas, no nothing. I just want him to understand the process. Go make cold calls. So, well, how do you do it? Did some role playing. I said, but look, here's the thing. Don't use my words because you trying to use my words will fail.
Yeah.
You use your own words. You got the concept. You understand the only goal of a call is to get the appointment. That's it. So you use whatever words you feel comfortable using as long as it fits within this framework, but make it your own. You own it. If you own it, you're going to believe in it. If you believe in it, you can sell it.
Yeah. And do you see those limitations, the major blocking? Because people want a script, but then the script
I
doesn't
don't. I
work.
mean, if you really are worried about a script, then you're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, a script is if you want to write something down so you get points in your head, great. But if you're reading off of a piece of paper, the person that you're calling knows you're reading off of a piece of paper,
Yeah.
and they're going to hang up on you every single time. If you call with conviction and passion and commitment and know your shit, they're going to take your call.
Now, I'm also getting the sense from you that you knew how to spend your time, that you could tell or have read an account, read the people, and determine where are they on the likelihood of working with you or not.
Sure. I mean, I think there's been many of appointments I've showed up to that I've actually got up 10 minutes after I've gotten there and shaken the person's hand and said, clearly we have misunderstood each other on why we're here, and gotten up and left.
Yeah.
And in many cases, I've gotten the business because they're like, guys like, what the fuck? This guy just got up and left. Like, my time is money, right? There are other types of, this isn't a short sale. I mean, this isn't a one and done.
Right.
This is a long, this is a building block. This takes anywhere from 6 months to a year to close a piece of business. So there are many times that you catch people at a bad time. But if I read the room and the room is silent and they think I'm going to go through a presentation, I get up and leave, because clearly whoever set the meeting didn't do it appropriately, and their idea of why I'm there is quite different than why I'm really there. And I don't have a problem saying this is not a right fit, because why am I going to spend a lot of time on something that's never going to close? I used to work with a sales coach. His name's Tony Cole out in Cincinnati, and great guy. He was my coach for 15 years, just once a week, once every 2 weeks. We became friends. So it became a monthly thing where every company I went to, I brought him with me because he was just so good. Just focus on what you need to get done and do it. And that gets back to student of the business. No matter how good you are, and no matter how high up on the rung you are, it just means the bullet's on your back even more. And you need to make sure that you're focused and stay level-headed throughout the whole process.
Well, that's a great point, because very few people will do that. But yet, no matter who you are, you need somebody else's opinion. They can see something pretty crystal clearly that we or you tend to overlook because we don't want to see it.
Well, look, I mean, sales is one of those interesting concepts, right? If you're successful in sales and you do whatever, 50% more than your goal or 100% more than your goal, you yourself can sit there and say, "Wow, good job, boy. Job well done." But the reality of it is if you really focus in not on your successes, but on your failures,
Yes.
and you really understand and do debriefs on why you didn't get it, they truly didn't get it, not the ones that you scheduled that were wrong, but the ones where you failed, right? There's a winner and a loser in every sale, right? I came in number 2. No, you lost. No, you lost. No win, you lost, right? So there's no number 2. You lost the bid. So if you really understand why you lost it and admit it to yourself, right? It's about admission. There are times where I showed up to meetings and I know I sucked. It just wasn't on my game, right?
Yep.
Something went wrong. Something went wrong in my head. I've showed up to meetings and absolutely failed. Okay. So do you debrief? What was it? What happened? Okay. If you understand what happened and you're willing to correct it, there's one thing about admitting it, but it's a whole nother thing about correcting it. Most people won't do either of those two.
Right. Yeah.
Right. They'll just sit there and say, "Hey, oh, that client was an asshole.
Right.
Whatever.
They want lowest price.
It's their fault. It's
Yeah.
their fault, not mine. No, it's your fault." If you look at it that way and say, "Okay, what can I do better next time? What can the team do better?" Well, it all gets down to me. I mean, whether, okay, did I not bring the right people? Did I not bring a person with me and they wanted a team of 7 people to sit there and do nothing? Did they want a flashy presentation that I wasn't going to go through? What can I do better next time?
Yeah. I think if people did just that habit, they become so much better, because the loss of that deal was the tuition of that lesson.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't matter what my numbers aren't small, right? I mean,
right.
my average deals is $200,000 commission, right? So we're not talking about a small amount of money.
That's 4 years at Harvard. Yeah.
No, it's not actually. It's about 2 years at Harvard. But this whole college tuition thing is a joke. I have 2 kids in college, and I have a couple other kids that we put through college. So college tuition is the $70,000 a year gig per kid, which isn't mathematically correct, because you then have to add travel expenses, food, car, insurance. It's $100,000 a year.
Yep.
I don't care how you cut it. Okay, maybe it's 98.
That's it. And the same with sales. A lost deal
It's
if
a
you
lost
don't
deal.
learn that education of how you could have prepared, how you could have brought the right people, how do you going to get your mind in the game, your body in the game, your focus, you're just going to
Well, I
repeat it.
think, yeah. I'm a big believer that mind and body is important,
Yeah.
right? So I run a lot. I'm a fanatic runner, long distance, and I'm a fanatic athlete when it comes to working out in the gym. And I think that one of the things that enables me to stay fresh and on top of my game is my ability to push myself in the gym or push myself out on the road when I'm running. It's one of the best places to really have mental clarity. You're out there running. I'm doing a 10, 15-mile run. Well, guess what? I got a lot of time to think.
Thank you. Cool. Hey, Michael, I really appreciate your time today. Where can people follow you and connect with you?
LinkedIn.
Yep.
LinkedIn. I don't do any of those social media.